Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to review this slideshow. I think it's important to just establish a basic framework and understanding for proceeding with this course now that we're into our second week. So, I wanted to just talk briefly about the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish in this 8-week course, as well as go over a few logistical items that might be helpful to you. It's important to understand that the study of sociology is being able to look at the construction of our society and understand how it works. It is also important that we learn how labels guide our social interactions, and you'll read, or you should be preparing to read, about symbols and labels and vocabulary terms such as those that are commonly used in sociology. It is also important to learn about the process of socialization and how human behavior is shaped by social learning. It is also important to learn about societal rules, also known as norms, beliefs, and values. You're going to hear that a lot: norms, beliefs, values, as you read throughout the text that you have been assigned. And also, it's important to critique contemporary social problems through the use of sociological theories. I think the difference between sociology and general layman conversation is that you take an issue that you may be used to talking about with your friends or with your family. Let's say it's poverty, and you're used to talking about whether or not someone is poor because they're lazy, or because they don't have an opportunity to get a job, or because they don't have the right education. And those might generate some rich discussions. But then once you step into the classroom of a sociology course and begin looking at these contemporary problems, what you're being asked to do that's different from your discussions with family or friends is to connect what you're seeing in your social world to theoretical perspectives, ideas around what causes this phenomenon, either globally, locally, or for the individual. And for the most part, we're looking at group issues that impact how people live their lives. So while we could look at one person we know who is poor, or a neighbor we know who lost their house, and have a whole discussion around what he or she did or did not do, in this particular course, the bigger picture is is where we want to have our focus on. So why is it that, just to throw a random number out there, 60% of Las Vegas families were at risk or lost their home during 2007 or 2008? Like, having a conversation around what does that mean sociologically? Is there a theory that can be tied to how things happen as we live in our culture? So my approach is multifaceted. Before I became an online teacher, I was a classroom teacher, and pretty much what I did was I brought in a lot of real life situations to help students sort of have conversation around what is happening here, what do we think is happening, why do we think it's happening, what do theories suggest, what does the data suggest, what does the research suggest. So I try to bring as much of that hands-on interactive approach to the online setting, which is why the discussion boards are critical and important to your learning. So I really want you to engage in discussion with your peers around some of the videos, links that I've provided you, and some of the scenarios that I've provided you, so that you can just start to have a conversation around what is happening and how you can interpret what that is sociologically. For this course also, I believe writing is important. I think writing is a critical component of your learning, because when you have a chance to like write about what you think or what you believe or what you know, it expands your knowledge as well. It gives you the experience in terms of thinking scholarly about a particular issue. I know that oftentimes I have students who begin this course who have not written much in their past. Maybe they weren't required to write much in high school, or they just have been out of school for so long that writing is just not something that they feel comfortable with. That is okay. The Colleges of Nevada has plenty of resources for you as a student learner, and I'm going to be encouraging all of you to make sure you're taking advantage of the resources throughout this course and throughout your career at CSN. My goal is that you're successful. I want you to walk away with some skills and knowledge. You know, walk away absolutely knowing what sociology is and what it means to critique social issues, and also walk away feeling a little more confident about yourself as a scholarly learner. The topics that I put up on the discussion board are controversial topics for the most part. And it's kind of hard to avoid having conversations, particularly in this climate that we live in now. It's hard not to have conversations that don't lead to some level of discomfort. I recognize that, which is why I go through the effort to put up discussion board instructions and community agreements so that there is a baseline level of expectation that folks are respectful, folks do not assassinate or attack anyone personally, in terms of their character or in terms of their belief, or say things like, why do you believe that? It's okay to ask why, but what you will learn as you read this text is a better question might be what or how. What happened that led to you thinking this way? How can you help me understand your perspective? Questions that you can ask that continue the discussion in a respectful way. But it is okay to disagree. And it is a reality that oftentimes our learning stems from those moments where we felt the most awkward and the most discomfort around whatever was happening to us, but out of that process, learning occurred. I really love this text. This is a new textbook that I've chosen for this school year. I tested it over the summer with students who took my summer class, and I got really good feedback. I personally am a civic-minded person at heart. I believe two things should be happening. One, we should definitely talk about the problem and understand the root of the problem, and understand who has been impacted by the problem. And we should also have a conversation that starts with, okay, so now what? In this book that I've chosen to be the text for the sociology intro class, helps frame the discussions around, so what do we do? How do we engage? How do we become active participants in social change? And whether your major is sociology, social work, psychology, or some other major that may not be directly connected to addressing a social agenda, it is important as human beings, as participants in this society, that we understand that we have power and influence, even if it's the power or influence that we try to connect with our family or our friend network, whatever that may be. If it's an election year, we should be thinking around how how can I best make an impact during this critical time period? Um, if the Nevada legislature is in session, we should be thinking about, I wonder what bills are going to pass and how those bills are going to impact me, my family, and my community. My ability to acquire an education or an education for my children. Like, we should always be thinking about not just existing in society, but actively participating and engaging in our society. So, when you read, I believe it might be chapter, I don't know if it's chapter 2 or chapter 3, but chapter 2. As you begin to read, please pay attention to all of the founders who are listed here. These are some of the classical founders of sociology. There's a classical period, there's a contemporary period in which individuals who have contributed through their research to the field of sociology sort of lay out their perspective of how they believe society works. And they back it up with research studies and writings and things that they have thought about. In the intro to sociology class, we focus a lot on the classical sociology theorists because that's the foundation, and you're taking a foundation course. So as you read over Karl Marx, Max Weber, Emile Durkheim, George Herbert Mead, Jane Addams, and W.E.B. Du Bois, think about in what ways are they similar, in what ways are they different, and more importantly, which theorists do you identify with, or what resonates with you in terms of what you read about each one of those theories. A major component to this course is your understanding and adoption of these three theoretical perspectives. So the classic theories in Soc are symbolic interaction, functional theory, and conflict theory. So in each one of these theories, you should understand how that particular theory helps provide a framework for understanding society. Your assignments on the discussion board, as well as your written assignments, will require that you include and elaborate and connect that theory to the topic that you've chosen. This is a very important page. There are links here that I encourage you to visit right away. The first two would be our library, CSN Library, and the CSN Writing Center. I know that in writing papers, it's particularly when you wait to the last minute, you just jump on Bing or Google or whatever kind of search engine is automatically the default link in your laptop, and you just type in your topic and you go. And that is one way. However, it is not the most effective way or collegiate way or scholarly way, however you want to put it, to identify resources to support your writing. Scholarly, collegiate resources that support your work are going to come from legitimate search engines that are typically connected to our library. So I would encourage you to start at the library first. It is absolutely acceptable to use sources such as news sources like Huffington Post, the Washington Post, the Las Vegas Review Journal, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, NPR. All of those news media outlets are great sources and can oftentimes help you by giving you examples of what it is that you're talking about. Let's say you're talking about juvenile crime, and you come across a story about a juvenile who committed a crime, and you read it on Huffington Post. Yes, include that in your APA reference list, and you also need to become accustomed to searching for peer-reviewed articles, articles that stem from research and are legitimate to a particular database or journal. So again, contacting the library, emailing them, calling them, visiting them, or just going to the links and following the tutorials through the links are going to be very helpful for you. We also have a writing center, and they have an online component as well. This writing center, the staff at this writing center are on standby and ready to assist students this semester in terms of structuring their paper and using APA citation or MLA citation. So please take advantage of both those resources. On the right side of the page, I just plugged in some general data sources that may be useful depending on the topic that you choose for your paper. So each one of those links will go to a site that can give you real life statistical data so that you're not guessing. You should never be guessing about how many people are poor in Nevada. You should not be guessing about how many people are without health care in the southwest part of the United States. Like, that type of information is available through different sources. So your job would be to find credible sources to support the information that you're trying to include in your paper. The last link, englishpurdue.edu, that link should be available in other parts of Canvas in this class. I think I put it in a few other places, but I put it here again because I think repetition in this case is a good thing. If you do not know how to use APA formatting for writing your paper, please visit that link. The biggest aspect about APA writing or MLA writing, because some of you who may have taken English learned how to do MLA, is to avoid plagiarism. The biggest mistake you don't want to make is using someone else's work and not giving them credit. So as you're writing, you want to make sure you're citing within the body of your paper, and at the end of your paper you want to make sure you provide what is called a reference page or a works cited page, which lists the documents that you use to create your paper. Finally, I will try my best to assist in any way I can. It's important that you email me, ask me questions. Definitely log in during chat room time. Join in on a conference call that's scheduled. These are all ways in which we can interact and increase our level of interaction, because I want you to be comfortable with the course, confident that you can do the work so that you can be successful in getting the grade that you seek. And that pretty much just sums up this sort of intro PowerPoint for the course. I believe the book is very self-explanatory and, for the most part, self-guided. I don't think you need supplemental PowerPoints per se from the textbook. I think if you're reading the book and reading the examples, you're on the right track. And we'll spend the rest of our time interacting via chat room, discussion board, and conference call. And I just encourage you all to have a great semester and be great.